Hello everyone, Loserkiller here, and today it's time for the sixth video in my Abyss MOC series, and today's MOC is named Kayen, and so Kayen was inspired by a MOC created by Arcana Exe in 2006, which was called Quaka, and also let me remind you that you have some links in the description of this video. The first link is a link to the picture gallery of Kayen, so if you want to see more pictures and more poses, well, you can. And the second link, which is also important, is a link to the Quaka picture gallery, so you can see the original MOC from which I took inspiration, and you can see the differences between Kayen and this one, and see what I decided to take from it and what I changed. So you can compare the two more easily. Also, you have a link for the instruction, but it might not be up yet as when I will post this video. That said, let's start with the MOC. So Kayen is represent not really a gang, but more like a group of people called the Desert Nomad. We'll talk about the background a little more at the end of the video. For now, let's start on the MOC itself and how it's built. So the original Quaka model made by Arcana Exe used the Vaki pelvis part and also the Piwaka torso armor. So I choose to also use these two parts together, but I linked them a little differently because I decided to use technique beams like this one, so to attach the two parts together. So you can see you have like three technique beams, one black, one smaller orange, and a brown one at the front, which is well helpful to make everything put everything on the same height like that. That said, also notice that between these two parts you have an orange piece which is useful to add a connector, which will be then useful to attach the head to the rest of the model. And apart from that, you can notice the hose pipe right here, which will come in handy, well, just right now in fact, because we're going to add this part on the back. So you can see some orange part, and some, in fact, yes, some dark gray hose pipe like that, and which are useful to attach this specific part which was used on the Mystica Bionicle set, released in 2008 in the second wave of the year, and which were used to kind of like project air into a launcher in order to launch a projectile. So I decided to take this part off, and we're going to link this part to the hose pipe. Well, link not really, because as you can see, the hole is bigger than my hose pipe, so this means that this will not really fit exactly, but it still stands with no problem. It does not fall off. As you can see, it's attached kind of by its own. So we have done the first part of what we're going to add to the body frame. So it's kind of like an air tank or a water tank, if you want, because yes, the Nomads Desert were inspired by Dune's Fremen. So Dune is a sci-fi, is a science fiction novel, a series, in fact, of science fiction novels, which I really like. It was also made in a movie and in a TV show, but at first it was a series of novels. And in this novel, you have kind of like a group of people who are really used to live in the desert and who are really well strong to survive the desert and its intense condition of life. And so I decided to take inspiration from the Fremen and do my own. So that's why I kind of took the water tank aspect from the Fremen, and I decided to put it on my MOC. Next up is the shoulder pads, which are quite simple. They are made with a Torametru rib cage, and as you can see, we're going to link them just thanks to, well, this orange part. But what is really interesting is that the orange part, as you can see right here, is first linked like that, so it can move up and down, and also on the side, meaning that my shoulder pads will be able to adapt to any movement from the arms. They will directly adapt and they will not block the movement of the arm, while the range of movement of the arm, which is really important. Going to add another part on the front, because I totally forget about this one, but here you go. It's a little more, it's a prettier. And then we're going to add this big technique panel part. As you can see, we're going to link it thanks to these two parts. So once again, you have 2 points of articulation, which will be useful to really move this part around. And also you can notice with this black part, so I choose some, as you can see, some plastics that can be bended in order to really hide it better in the panel part. And yes, this part is supposed to be an hidden dagger. Because Kayen, because he's kind of like from the desert, he has really to adapt, and that's why I decided to give him like 3 weapons, so he can adapt to different type of any type of encounter he might have. He can adapt with 3 weapons, and the dagger is kind of like the last resort weapon when he can't reach for his other weapons. So we're going to link this part right here in the hose pipe, excuse me, in the pinhole right there. So let me just attach it this way, and then we're going to move this part at the front. So it's kind of like a piece of fabric, kind of like a part of a skirt, and it's meant to look like that. So next up are the legs and the arms, and these parts are really quite simple to understand. So you can see I'm going to use a double-sided long connector. So let me rephrase this: a long double-sided connector. Yeah. So here, going to put some armors and also this part on the back. Notice that this part will be useful to attach the second weapon, which is kind of like a sword. So at first it was attached like that to the leg, but because there was kind of like a big, empty space between the tip of the sword and this part of the leg, I decided to change it to put it on the back. So as you can see, it fits better it fits better the shape of the leg. And here's how I attach this main through foot. So thanks to the hole which is inside the part itself. And the foot, quite simple. I hid the empty spaces once again with some technique beams, which are also helpful to add to the overall color scheme. So as you might have seen, I think from the last 7 minutes or so, the color scheme is orange. You have also some light brown and some dark brown, and finally you have some dark metal color used. And I think it's a quite good looking color scheme, quite original, and I really like it. But overall, I really like this MOC, and I will say why later on at the end of the video. But first, the arms. So as you can see, the arms are also quite simple. Nothing really complicated. A long double-sided connector. Once again here, going to use some legs, which I'm going to attach there to make it bulkier. The same goes for this technique beam, which once again is used to kind of like fill the empty spaces on the parts themselves, and also some Nuva shoulder armor right there, which are linked in a very simple way, as you can see, but it works, so it's all good. All right. Okay, now we have the head. So the head, it's a wacky head for once. For one. So yes, the original MOC by Arcana Exe had a wacky head exactly the same as the white one. So I decided to modify that just a little by instead of choosing to take the big silver disc launcher pieces, I chose to take a smaller brown one, as you can see, that at the time you could find in the individual Kanoka disc pack of 2. You had like 2 discs and 1 launcher, so here's where the launchers come from. As you can see, it's linked thanks to rubber band, so it's not really attached with real Lego parts, but still it fits and it doesn't really move. It stays still. Also, the foot on the head was also from the original MOC. At the time, it was more like Toa Ordika foot, but I changed it to a Toa Metro foot. Also notice the little parts on the back, which are kind of like air, and I decided to attach them together to make it more like more savage looking, to give them a more savage look. Excuse me. Okay. And now that the head is attached, well, we are nearly done. We just have one weapon left, in fact, out of the 3 weapons, and it's the spear, like that. Quite simple. And we can attach it on the back. So once again, this type of thing, well, the attach on the back thingy was not here when I made this mock way back in 2012. At the time, he was just forced to hold his spear in his hand. But when I decided to finally do the videos and the photos for the Abyss mock series, I decided to that on the mock that could have this feature to add a part on their back so that they could, put their weapons on them and so that they did not have to add them in their hands. Excuse me for that. I think you can forget that I just tried to say it was not really clear and not really interesting. And in fact, it's not interesting at all because you know why? We are done with Kayen. In fact, the model is built, and it looks like that. So, turn around first, then we'll move on to a little, well, I will talk about the articulations of the model, which are quite okay-ish. Nothing really incredible, but it does perfectly the job. And then we'll end this video with a little pose, obviously, of the model. And some background information, well, I don't really know, because there is not that much background yet on Kayen. So as you can see, the legs have no problem at all. As you can see, even the hose pipe can be moved around, so there is no problem. Obviously, the sword here is going to block the leg a little, but not that much, in fact, because if you so put it off, if you first succeed into doing so, yes, as you can see, not that much. Fit, no problem at all in terms of moving them. And then you have the skirt does not really pose a big problem in terms of articulation, because you can see when I move the leg, the skirt just follow the movement of the leg. So this means that you can only do stuff like that, and no problem, it will not block the movement. So it's quite nice, because personally, I really like to build skirts out of Technic panels, so with this type of part, but most of the time it blocks the movement, and it's really a big problem. Here it's not the case, so it's quite a relief for me to finally have something that works nicely. But that's also because you have 2 points of articulation. Like this one is really helpful to move the skirt away, because if I adjust the bulged point of articulation, I don't think it will really be the same. Here it's just easier to move around the skirt with no problem at all. Then you have the arms, and once again the arms, as you can see, can touch the shoulder pads, but the shoulder pads which will adapt to the way the arm is put. So, as you can see, it does not block the movement of the shoulder. The elbows are perfectly fine too. The hands, nothing to talk about. And the head on the other side, on the other end, you can move down, not really up. And on the side, well, yes, a little, just a little, because obviously the shoulder pads kind of like adapt to the movement of the arms, but they block the movement of the head. So yeah, you have to deal with that. So I'm going just to put weapons on in his hands, and that will be all for this creation. Okay, like that. And like that. So that said, well, I'm going to put in some pause. And so what I have to, excuse me. Well, looks good enough for me, so I think I will. Yes, it's not the most dynamic pose, but maybe he doesn't really want to be dynamic today, so let's just let him. No, yeah, just it was way better when he was just standing still like that, I think. Excuse me. Obviously, if you want to see a lot of poses of Kayen, you can go to his picture gallery once again in the video description, because I took a lot of pictures of him, so you can really get the full Kayen experience on the bookshelf gallery. Just kidding. So yes, so to conclude about this creation, well, I'm quite happy about it, because I think that's one of my most liked creation in the whole Abyss MOC series, because most of them have some problems which I'm little well, they have some problems, and I think yes, it's not entirely perfect, and it kind of pains me. And obviously, Kayen is not perfect, or is also not perfect, but I think it doesn't really have any big problems, if you want to know. So I really like also. So first, it doesn't really have any problems. Also, I really like the color scheme, because I think it's quite original and it works quite well. So the colors mesh well together. And also, I really like the design. I think it really got a strong design. Once again, as you can see, in terms of how it's built, it's not really complicated. There is nothing really custom made or anything like that. It's really quite simple, but it works. You have the shoulder pads. You have obviously the Vaki head by itself, which looks really good. So obviously here, I'm not really the one who designed it, but still, I think the head looks really strong, plus the skirt here, which does not block the movement, so I'm really happy about that. The big armors on the arms and also on the legs, so it's really, I think, a strong design, and I'm really quite happy about this creation. So that's one of the one I like the most. And in fact, I don't really have that much to say apart from that. So if you have any well, things you do not like or like about this question, feel free to tell me. But apart from, yes, personally, I'm really, I think he's really one of my strongest design in the whole Abyss MOC series. And so I really like, I really like him. And like I said, in terms of storyline, well, it's not really a part of a gang, because the Desert Nomads are not really a gang. In fact, they are more like a group of individuals which work together and which are really strong at facing the desert's dangers. And that's quite all. So that's really all I have to say about the background. So in the Universcape storyline, which is like a big storyline, you already had a group of deserts nomad before that, like a lot of years before that. Maybe that's the same group which just kind of evolved. So yeah, that might be interesting in terms of background to know. And also, I don't really know if these guys are really good guys or bad guys. So it really depends. And also, yes, one important point about this is that Kayen is in fact the first gang leader that you see in our Abyss MOC series, because for now we have just seen some gang members, so for example Soeznia or Evangelias, but no leaders. And I think really that Kayen, by his look, is the leader of the Desert Nomads. So yes, that's the first gang leaders in our MOC series, and there will be a second one just later down the line. And that's all. So that's all for this video. Hope you enjoyed. Once again, any comments or question is really welcomed, and I will really happily read them and answer them as usual. And apart from that, well, I think that's all. So we'll see together. We'll see. Well, I hope you will be back for the 7th video, in which we will see a MOC which this time is one of my 100% creation. And yes, that's just a little tease for now. So that's all. See you next time. See you later. See you when you want. And that's all. So bye bye.